So the two different types of preference assessments I'm gonna use with my child are gonna be pair stimulus and multiple stimulus without replacement. In the first example, I would choose like 4 different items that I think might function as a reinforcer for my client. Then I'll have different trials and I'll ask him to pick one. So he needs to select either item 1 or item 2, item 3 or 4, and so on. So the one that he picks, I'm gonna circle the one that he picks, and I'm gonna block any attempt that like if he touched both like simultaneously, I'm gonna block the trial and I'm gonna ask him to do it again. In case he doesn't pick one, I'm gonna ask him take one. So he's gonna grab one of those items and I'm gonna circle the one that he picks. One of the things that I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna record his selection, like for example how many times item 1 was selected out of the different trials that I have. So that's for pair stimulus. And on the other hand, for multiple stimulus without replacement, I'll have like 4 different objects, and I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna present those items to the child, and I'm gonna ask the child to pick one. So once he picked the one that he wants, let's say in the first attempt he picked the card. So once he picked the card, I'm gonna let him play for a few minutes. After that, I'm gonna tell him to put it away, or I'm gonna put it away so we can move on to the next trial, and he needs to pick another one, and so on until we finish with none of those toys that I present to him. So basically I'm gonna be repeating the same process I use on trial number 1 until all the remaining items are gone. So the next scenario is depicting a behavior problem using where I'm gonna use ABC data. So let's say my client it's playing with an iPad, and I ask him to put the iPad away because it's time to do some of his homework. So that will be the antecedent. Next, we have the behavior he has by asking him to put that iPad away. So the behavior he has is that he's gonna start crying. He starts crying and yelling and saying, "No, I don't want to do it. I want my iPad back." So the consequence that he's gonna have, and the thing that I'm gonna do with him as a consequence is like I'm gonna remove the iPad, and once he comes down, I'm gonna tell him that he needs to do some work in order for him to get the iPad back. Once he does like some work, he's gonna have some time to use the iPad again. So basically this represents the ABC data that I can record, like if a situation like this, like I have with my client. So now I'm gonna present a discrete trial teaching example that I can use with my client. So with a correct response and a incorrect response. So I'm gonna present 3 different animal cards to my client, and I'm gonna ask him like, can you show me the cat? So if he actually like points to the cat card, I'm gonna use edible reinforcer, which is gonna be a candy. So if he gets it correct, I'm gonna say, "Oh, excellent, Jimmy, you got it correct," and then I'm gonna give him the candy. In case he gets it incorrect, depending on his reaction to the question, I'm gonna use a prompt, and it can be either partial or full physical, so he knows which one is the cat. If I use full physical, I'm just gonna grab his hand and I'm gonna say, oh, this is a cat. And then I'm gonna ask him again, show me the cat. So once he gives me the correct card, I'm gonna give him the candy. So basically, this is the sample I can use with my my client. Now I have 3 different examples depicting naturalistic teaching. So on the first one, let's say I see my client playing with Legos of different colors, and I know like one of the goals is like to identify colors. So I can introduce the idea with him, like by saying like, oh, Jimmy, let's build towers like by color. So that way he's able to identify the colors, like, oh, this color goes with this one, like, oh, let's put all the red ones together and all the blues together. So that is a way of him like identifying like those different colors. On the next example, let's pretend I see my client like playing with 3 different cars. So if I see him like he's very like into that, like I can see like next to him and start asking him questions like, what is this, Jimmy? So he can say like, oh, these are the wheels. And then what is this, Jimmy? There's a window. So know what's the vocabulary that he knows, and those parts that he doesn't know, like I can introduce them to him, so that way he's gaining like more vocabulary. Like at the same time I can ask him questions like, oh, what color is this, or what color is this? So that's like also like another way of teaching him like colors. Lastly, I have let's say he likes to draw, so I can show him like 2 different markers, like colors, and I'm gonna ask him like, oh, which one do you want? And let's say he picks the red one, so he's gonna start drawing. Once he starts drawing, I can ask him like, oh, do you know anything that is red? Like, tell me like something that is red. So that way if he says like, oh, an apple is red, or I can say like, oh, a strawberry is red, or the heart can be red. So that's a way also of introducing like new vocabulary, and at the same time I'm introducing like the naturalistic teaching. So now I have the chaining procedures, and the 2 types of chaining procedures that I'm gonna use are forward change and backward change. So on the first one, on the forward change, it says that we always gonna start with the first step on the sequence. So let's say I want to tell my client how to write his first name, and let's say his name is Steven. So we always gonna start with the letter S, because it's the first letter in his name. So yes, so we always gonna start with the first step on the sequence. On the other hand, I have the backward change. So on this procedure, we always start with the last step first. So let's say he's learning how to zip his zippers. So I can I can teach him this by let's say starting with the last step, which is gonna be like pull the zipper like to the rest of all the way up. So that's the first thing that he's gonna do, like pull the zipper like to the rest of the way up. And then we're gonna move on to the second to last step, which is gonna be like slowly start the zipper to make sure that the zipper is on track. And lastly, I'm gonna teach him like how to thread like the bottom piece into the zipper piece. So basically on this procedure, we always start with the last step first. Okay, so now I have three different shaping procedures that I can use with my client. So basically, by using a shaping procedures, like I make the task easier for my client. So on example one that I have is like teaching him like how to button his shirt. So since I know like he has like trouble like button like small buttons at the beginning, I can start by using like large but like shirts with large buttons, because that will be easier for him. And every time I'm gonna reward like any attempt that he gets closer to the desired response that I want. So I'm gonna reward this attempt first, and then I'm gonna move to the medium button to use like shirts with medium buttons, and then I also gonna reward this attempt. Then I'm gonna move to the last attempt, which basically was the desired response that I wanted at the beginning. But since I know like he has trouble, that's why I made these accommodations by using large button first, then medium, and then small buttons. So that's like one example that I can use with him, depicting like shaping procedure. And the second example that I have, let's say that the teaching goal for him is for to say the word dog. So, and at the beginning, like I'm gonna accept like anytime, let's say he says the or the I'm gonna accept those like response, and I'm gonna reinforce any response that I get for him, because I know like at the beginning like he doesn't know like how to pronounce like this word correctly. But then once I know like, oh, let's say he gets this idea, the last step that is gonna be for him to say the word dog correctly. So in that case, like I'm just gonna reward only the correct response, which is gonna be by saying this word like correctly. Then I move to the third scenario that I have and I can use with him. Let's say I'm gonna help my child like to learn how to feed himself like independently. So I can I'm gonna start by using by helping him like use the spoon like hand over hand, like so he's able to reach like so he's able to know like how to grab the spoon and how to take it like slowly to his mouth. So and I'm gonna do this step until he's finally able to pick up the spoon and eat from the bowl independently. So basically this is the procedure the shaping procedure I can use with him in this like example. So I start by grabbing his hand and showing him how to do it correctly, and until he knows how to feed himself like independently. Now I have an example depicting discrimination training. So as first, like as we know, like SD refers to discriminative stimulus, which basically is like the correct answer. And then on the other hand, we have as stimulus delta, which represent the incorrect answer. So in this example that I can use with my client is like I'll present like three different printed like cards with three different letters on them, and then I'm gonna place those cards on front of my student, and I'm gonna tell him like point to B. So B, which is gonna be the correct answer, is we know is gonna be represented as SD, and the other two we know are incorrect. So those represent the stimulus delta. So if he actually, when I say point to B, and he actually like points to B card, I'm gonna reinforce like that attempt, and I'm gonna say, oh, great job. So let's say if I say point to B and he either picks C or A, I'm not gonna praise those answers because they are incorrect. So I'm just gonna reinforce when he gets correct. Now I have the stimulus control transfer, which is basically is a technique in which like prompts are discontinued once the target behavior is been displayed on the presence of the discriminative stimulus SD. So for example, let's say I present a target, which in this case is going to be a ball to my client. And then I'm going to use a verbal prompt, like saying like, what do you want? And if he actually respond like correctly, I'm going to reinforce it. And if he gets it like incorrect, I can use like a quick like prompt so he can actually get the answer that responds like correct. And the two forms of stimulus control transfer that I'm gonna depict here, the first one is called like time delay, and on the sample that I can use with my client, I'm gonna use like a 3 seconds like time delay, and I'm gonna put out 3 different pictures. And I'm gonna say like, let's say touch the tree, or I'm just gonna say tree. So he has to like actually go and like select the tree. So I'm gonna once I say that if I don't get a response after the 3 seconds, I'm gonna use like a prompt, either a gesture or partial physical or physical, like depending on his like facial like reaction that I get from him. So let's say he doesn't know like what is a tree. So I'm actually gonna go and say, oh, this is like the tree. And I'm gonna ask him again, like point, like touch the tree. So he's gonna be able to do it because I was using like the prompt. And the next sample that I have is called stimulus fading. So let's say I want my client to recognize the word apple, but I know it's gonna be hard for him, like just to recognize like at the beginning, like let's say like just to recognize the word apple by itself. So I can I'm gonna start by using actually the picture of an apple, and I'm gonna superimpose the word apple on it, and then that's gonna be the first step I'm gonna use for him, like to recognize the word apple, by actually like showing like a bright like picture with the apple and then the name on top of it. Then the next level is to I'm gonna show like a fade out like picture of an apple, but I'm also like using the word apple. So once he gets this first level, I'm gonna move on to the fade out like picture. And once I know like he's getting this idea, then I can actually just like present the word apple by itself. So that's an example of using the stimulus fading. So now I have an example depicting that I can use with my client, depicting the prompt fading procedures. So in this case, this is gonna help my student to demonstrate a new skill. And the example that I'm gonna use is like a visual like prompt, which is gonna help him like learn how to write like letters. And so they're gonna be different levels, and I'm gonna start with on the first on this case, we're gonna move from the more intensive like prompt to the less intensive one. So we're gonna go from most to least. So on the first like step, I'm just gonna the child is gonna trace over the letter I'm gonna write. So on this level, I'm just gonna write the whole the letter. On the second level, I'm gonna trace the written word with dotted lines. Then I'm gonna move to the I'm just gonna gradually like reduce the amount of intensity of the dotted lines. And then on the fourth level, basically I'm just using like 4 dots. And lastly, finally, like I'm just gonna tell him like he's gonna have to like write the letter without like any visual prompt. So this is one example that I can use with my client, like which is gonna be which depicts like the prompt fading procedure. So now I have I'm gonna depict like a situation depicting the token system. So basically under this system, a child like earns like tokens like or stickers as an immediate like consequence reinforcer for a specific behavior, and they can exchange it for items and activities from the backup reinforcers. Like in this case, like the backup reinforcers like I can use with my clients are either iPad time or free time, because I know he really likes like those two like reinforcers. So I'm gonna reinforce like appropriate behavior with the use of stickers immediately after like his correct like response. So let's say I'm gonna have like this chart with, so he needs to earn 6 stickers in order for him to get one of those like backup reinforcers. And I'm gonna have this chart like next to him so he's able to see like, oh, how many does he needs to get. And I'm just gonna write like, oh, I'm working for, so whatever he picks, I'm just gonna write it here. And the activity I can use with him is like he needs to like tell me like the letter name. So I'm gonna have like a bunch of cards with the letters on it, and I'm gonna start asking him like, oh, tell me what letter is this. And then if he says like, oh, letter A, I'm gonna give him like a sticker so he can place on the chart. And once he's done like with collecting like all of those stickers, I can he's gonna pick like, well, he already like decide which backup reinforcer he wants to do. So when he's done, like I'm just gonna let him like play that free time or iPad time for a few minutes. And basically this is what the token system like represents. So here I have different like I'm depicting like implementation of crisis emergency procedures according to protocol that I can use, and some of them are prevention. For example, like if I know like on my client like like to pull hair, one of the preventions that I can do is like just put my hair up, or wear a hat, or and always like save distance, like always like keep my distance with him. Like the same with biting, like if I know like he likes to bite, like I'll use like keep my distance and wear like a long sleeve like clothes. And moreover, like if I know like he likes to throw objects, like I'm just gonna clear the area, like remove like dangerous items like out of his way, so he's not he doesn't grab them and hurt like someone or himself. Like then I have reaction, like some of the reactions like I'll do like is just to block him from hurting others or myself, and then move And also one of the things that I will do, it will be like restraint, especially when he is like in danger or he's like close to hurt someone else. So I will restrain him. Like, let's say if I see like a child, like he grabs like an item and starts like hurting himself, like I'm gonna remove like that item quickly from him, and I'm gonna try like to calm him down. So that way I can use like force to restrain the safety of him. And I'm gonna start like talking to him once he's like come with a calm voice. And once he I'm gonna release him like once I see that his behavior is like calm, like he's like calm down. And basically if I face like one of those incidents like where he's like having like a tantrum, or I'm just gonna record the data like by using the ABC data, and I will report it to my supervisor. So now I'm gonna depict like some the implementation of antecedent interventions. And basically with this, like I can design this to alter the environment before a behavior occurs. For example, I can use different strategies to avoid those behaviors. The first strategy that I have here is like provide breaks. So allow like the competition of a work like in parts. Like let's say like the kid is doing homework, so I can tell him like, okay, let's do this one first, and you have a break, then we continue. So that way like he's not that like frustrated. And then I have the use of high interest materials. So I will decide like what are the materials like he really like enjoy like doing. Then I have and then also I have choices, like present him like 2 or 3 different choices, because that makes the kid like excited. And also like allow like modifications, like let's say by this like I mean like let's say, oh, okay, for this activity we're gonna be doing like on the kitchen, on the living room. Then we can move to the kitchen or to the couch. And then I'm gonna use reinforcers also and consequences. So this way like the kid like is enjoying like the session. So now I have I'm gonna be depicting like different scenarios for differential reinforcement, and also I'm gonna include like an example of DRA, DRO, and DRL. So I'm gonna start with an example of differential reinforcement, and this example is basically like let's say I'm gonna reward a child every time he wash his hands before eating. So every time he washes his hands, like I'm gonna reinforce him. But I'm gonna withhold that reward every time like he doesn't wash his hands before eating. So if he does it, he's gonna get the reinforcer. If he doesn't, then I'm gonna withhold that reward. And then I have what is called differential reinforcement for alternative behavior, which is like represented by the letters DRA. And basically this involves like reinforcing behavior that serves as an alternative to the inappropriate behavior. So let's say my client, like every time like he demands, like makes a demand, like I will ignore him, and because he's not using like the correct like tone of voice. So every time he makes a demand, I'm just gonna ignore him. But only when he ask politely is when I will acknowledge like him, and I'm gonna satisfy like his request. And then I have what is called like the example that I have for DRO, which is differential reinforcement of other behavior. And this is basically like I'm gonna reward the child when the inappropriate behavior does not occur during a specific time. For example, if I know that my client like repeatedly like he leaves the seat and during session time, I'm gonna set a timer, which in this case I'm gonna use a 10-minute like timer. And if he doesn't leave his seat during this time, I'm gonna reward him by giving him like iPad time or free time or any reinforcer that I know he likes. And then I have what is called differential reinforcement of low rates. So this basically is like this will encourage the child to reduce the frequency of a behavior. And let's say he will get a sticker. I'm gonna limit, like if let's say I know my client like he likes to ask like so many questions during reading time, so I'm gonna limit the number of questions he asks. And on this case, let's say I'm gonna just allow him to do like 5 questions instead of the 10 that he usually like makes. So if he actually only do like those questions during the reading time, I'm gonna get a sticker for him. But if he doesn't and he keeps asking like questions and questions, I'm not gonna give him like any reinforcer. So he only gets the reinforcer if he actually like follow this through. So lastly, I am gonna depict extinction, and in this case I'm using an example that I did at home with my cat. So I taught my cat how to like shake hands. So every time she did it, like I reward her with treats. But once the trick like became less interesting, like I stopped like rewarding that behavior and asking her to actually do it. And eventually like that response like became like extinct, and she will stop like doing that behavior. So this is like a basic like extinction like problem that I did at home with my pet.